Grain deal with Ukraine could help with food prices. New sanctions will hit Russia right before the midterms, which could push gas prices back up. Critics are wondering whether the president will have any weapons to fight inflation. Texas Republican Congressman Pat Fallon tweeted, "Joe Biden inherited a robust economy and has only created the worst inflation we've seen in 40 years and declining wage growth. This administration is clearly living in an economic fantasy land." Congressman Fallon joins us now. Economic fantasy land, Congressman. What do you mean by that?
Well, John, thanks for having me on. Well, you can't legislate money. And the reason why we have such inflation, I mean, historic inflation, 40-year high, 9.1%, but in June it was 1.7. So if you, actually it was 1.3 in June, which means that's 17% if you annualize it. And what Joe Biden needs to understand, and the Democrats, is when you inject trillions of dollars into the money supply, you're going to create inflation. And also with the global supply chain crisis that we have, you're going to have a scarcity of goods and services, and hence inflation, and Americans are poorer because of it.
We have a graphic that shows what's happening with gas prices. The White House has been crowing about the fact that gas prices are coming down. Yes, they're coming down, but they are still way up there. They're $4.38 for a gallon of regular on average today. A month ago, it was $4.90. But a year ago, it was $3.15. And, it wasn't that long ago. We were looking at $1.87 was the national average. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, John, when gas prices essentially triple and then you crow about the fact that they went down 20 or 30%, you're really bad at math. Or you're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes, or you're trying to snatch victory out of the jaws of defeat. The fact of the matter is that the Biden administration canceled the Keystone Pipeline the first day he was in office. In the first week in office, he put a moratorium out on drilling on federal lands and waters. And that's one of the reasons why we're seeing, and also declared war on the American energy sector. And then went and was begging a bunch of mini Putins like Venezuela and Saudi Arabia, Iran, and looking for them to drill. We should be drilling ourselves. It's safer that way as well.
It is a little ironic if the president, wants green energy, or he wants to limit the use of petroleum products, and he tries to kill off, or at least harm the petroleum industry in this country, then he goes and asks for petroleum from other nations. It's getting burned either way, but we'll let the White House explain that, I guess. Food prices are up as well, especially chicken, and I want to put that on screen for our viewers. Anybody who's done any grocery shopping lately knows that the price of meat is up substantially. Beef is up 4% in the last year, pork 9%, and chicken almost 19%. It's getting harder and harder to put meals on the table with price increases like that.
No, there's no doubt, John. And I pretty much live off of a chicken sandwich diet, so it's really hitting me pretty hard as well. But when you look at the fact that you got gas is up, year over year, about 60%, energy as a whole, about 42%, eggs, 33%, staples like coffee, 16%. This is like the bad old days of Jimmy Carter double-digit inflation. In the first quarter, we had 1.4% decrease in growth. And while China enjoyed a 4.8% increase. And when those figures come out, I think we're going to end up being officially in a recession. And that's something that we really need to address immediately, because, again, Americans, the average family is making about $5,000 less than they did last year.
Yeah, and
in real wages.
We can put up that graphic as well that shows that wages are not keeping up with inflation in the country right now. The White House has also crowed about the fact that wages are up. Well, they are 5.1% hourly earnings, but the consumer price index is up 4% more than that, 9.1%. It's pretty hard to chase that with a 5% paycheck.
Well, you know what inflation ultimately is? It's a tax on everybody, or it's a tax that we all have to bear on everything that we need. And, if you had just your money in a savings account right now, you're literally 9% poorer than you were last year. And that's not what we want. We want to incentivize savings and investment. And we've got to get inflation under control. And the number one thing we need to do is stop injecting more money from Washington, D.C. into the money supply.
Congressman Pat Fallon, Republican of Texas. Congressman, thank you.
Thanks, John. God bless.